The states have learned how to interfere with the development of Indian gaming. It's a blackmail scheme. You know, we'll interfere and throw up roadblocks until you throw us some money or pay us off somehow or give us a bone, and then we'll go away. You know, it's a protection scheme or protection racket. The mob could learn from that.
Well, it's very interesting because when Schwarzenegger was running for governor, okay, when he was trying to get, they were trying to get Gray Davis out of office and Schwarzenegger into office, Schwarzenegger said, if I'm elected, I will make the Indian people pay $8 billion. The governor cannot make Indian people do anything. Indian people are sovereign nations.
Indian activists have accused the governor of an insensitive slur after he was quoted recently as saying, "The Indians are ripping us off." He was talking about the Indian gaming initiatives on the November ballot. Today he made it clear he's not apologizing for what he said.
Read my lips. The Indian gaming tribes with Proposition 70 are trying to rip off California. I will say it again and again and again.
Allow me to negotiate the fair share, the billions from Indian gaming our state deserves.
Who said that? Schwarzenegger? Yeah. That takes a lot of amnesia to be able to say that.
The two worst states in this nation for treatment of Indian people are California and Texas. And this state ripped Indian people off of all their land. There were 18 treaties negotiated with the Indian people. The Indian people gave up their land. Congress never ratified the treaties. And the Indian people, we've got Indian people in California without land. They're full-bloods, and they're not even recognized as Indian people. They don't get any gaming money. They're not ripping anybody off. They lost, okay? And you can go all the way back to Spain, to the Spanish in California. Now, Schwarzenegger needs another course in U.S. history, and I volunteered once to give it to him.
Unfortunately, I think Indian gaming has gotten to be a joke because people have seen these few large, successful casinos near urban areas and think that that's the norm when in fact they're the exception.
The average person out in the public thinks Native Americans are walking around with money stuffed out of their pockets, and it simply isn't true. 90% of Native Americans are not touched by this at all. Another 5 to 6% barely derive any benefit at all from it. It goes to a handful of people.
Most gaming occurring on Indian reservations around the country is very small in scale. They don't have the population centers to support it. They don't make that big of a contribution to the tribe's general fund or its coffers.
Many of these tribes with the most profitable casinos have only a few dozen or a few hundred members. At the same time, you have, a 250,000 Navajo, 20% of whom still don't have indoor plumbing. And yet this was a piece of legislation that was supposed to make Indian tribes self-sufficient. It was economic development. It was to strengthen tribal governments. It has done none of those things for a majority of Indian tribes in this country.
There's 290 Indian casinos. We estimate about 4 of them comprise probably 25% of the revenue. So that gives you an idea how few are really benefiting.
I worry that if people think that gaming is so successful that they'll start ending their support for the subsidies that keep Indian tribes going. And I worry about the poor Indian tribes, which is the vast majority, and what will happen to them if gaming continues to be so successful in just those few urban centers like Minnesota and Connecticut and California.